Hey everyone, welcome back to another FogCutter Live. I'm Mike Curtis here with Preston James, founder of Trader's Edge Network. And Preston, we're coming off a really hot week. We got a lot to cover like always, so say hello and we'll get into it.
Yeah, we're coming off a hot week, and then contrasted. Mike and I are in London, and it started getting dark about 3:30. But the fun thing is it is lit up over here for Christmas time. So that's kind of
Yeah,
an interesting backdrop, Mike.
definitely. Yeah, some fun energy out on the streets for sure.
Mhm.
Fun energy at Trader's Edge. We just launched our diamonds. We've been busy and
Oh
running
my
around. My
gosh!
phone's been going nonstop. Kyle said the same thing before we got recording here. But let's talk first, Preston, about last week. Right, Thursday of the week before, we had the post NVIDIA earnings reaction, right, where we gapped up and then just intense selling. We got a little bounce Friday, and then that carried into last week,
Right.
where we really just saw from that Friday all through last week, for the most part, a really impressive push higher on the S&P 500, on the NASDAQ. Money was coming back into some of those AI names that had kind of been beaten down. So, Preston, when you see things really cover a lot of ground in a week like that, where's your brain at? Where are your thoughts?
Well, it was the most. It was the biggest Thanksgiving week move since 2008.
Wow.
And that could have taken out even more years. All to say, one of the record weeks we've seen, definitely in my whole trading career, happened last week. So to see it actually opening a little soft today,
Mm.
and for some reason, Yahoo's got the whole UK thing. I'm seeing the FTSE index here, all the kind of stuff I don't normally see, that I never want to see. Um, but I do know that we're a little weaker, and it's just not that surprising.
Yeah. I mean, it's normal ebbs and flows of the market. If you have 4 or 5 days where you cover a lot of ground, right, there's all sorts of technical indicators that can help point to overbought conditions. It doesn't mean we can't finish the year strong. It just means, in this really short term, we've covered a lot of ground in 4 or 5 days. And sometimes the market just needs a little bit of a breather, right?
Mm-hmm.
That furious buying can only persist at a pace for so long before it just
Oh, it's true.
starts to fizzle out. So not to, and again, and we're off the lows today. So we did see some weakness at the open. We saw things in the red, and then some of that buying appetite is still obviously out there as we're kind of pushing up off of those lows. So even though short term we might be in for a little bit of a breather, a little bit of a pause, which is of course to be expected after a move like that. We're really watching closely to see if the uptrend can really resume for us on these indices, the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ.
No, really, yes, solid information. What I get extra interested in, Mike, because not all stocks move with the market. Some
Right.
stocks, and I'm thinking one in particular that announces earnings this week. Now, we don't know what they're going to announce. Neither do we know what they're going to announce, but we also don't know what they're going to announce for guidance looking forward. And then we further don't know how the crowd will react. So we like to wait for that to happen. But a company in particular that has not participated at all, that's actually been it's in the retail sector that I'm highly interested in this week, is Restoration Hardware, RH. They announced after the close on Thursday, and there's a few other ones that are big names that announced this week, but in particular, I look at an RH because they're a leader in what they do, and again, they just have not participated. Perhaps they get over earnings and people start rushing into the stock, and if they do, it certainly could cover a lot of ground.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
No, a good one to keep an eye on. We actually have a few pretty big sized names reporting earnings this week. So even though we're pretty much through earnings season at this point, there are a few of these stragglers, if you will, that are reporting earnings. MongoDB today CrowdStrike is tomorrow. Marvel Technology, I know, Preston, that's one we've traded and you watch, fairly closely.
I like Marvel. If this sets up, this is one I'm watching. Yeah, maybe over anything else. But
Mm-hmm. And
I've
then a
made some
couple
good
big
money on
ones
it in
on,
the past. Yeah.
yeah, and then a couple big ones on Wednesday with CRM, Salesforce, as well as Snowflake, ticker
Mm-hmm.
SNOW. So quite a few, decent sized names to keep an eye on. If you're in any of those positions, make sure you know exactly when those earnings announcements are coming up. But again,
Yes. I'll also add one more that Ulta Beauty announces Thursday after the close. Um, there's nothing more undefeated in world history than women in beauty. And that's not to say they get over earnings or whatever, but they're one of the leaders in that whole realm. And I'm always fascinated by what they announce for earnings. It's this Thursday.
definitely. Yeah, and then as well, looking out into this week, Fed Chair Jerome Powell, he speaks tonight. I think it's at 8 p.m. Eastern time. So, of course, the markets will be closed. But if he makes any comments that are out of the norm or stronger language than people were expecting, we could see that impact the futures markets overnight and how we open and set things off on Tuesday's trading day. So Powell speaks tonight. We've got a little bit of some macroeconomic data out with some PMI manufacturing surveys from Europe, Asian economies, a few little things that I think rattled the markets as well. That could have also been some of the reason, right? They're always trying to give a reason for the futures being down to start the week. But then a couple others to keep an eye on. Really, the big one is on Friday, we're getting our PCE and core PCE numbers, which, of course, is kind of the Fed's. They watch that really closely for inflation numbers, prices of consumer expenditures. So that's another one to keep an eye on that's coming out Friday before the market opens.
Yeah. And Mike, on another note, ServiceNow, ticker symbol NOW, they had announced a 5-for-1 split right before Halloween. And this week they happen to be splitting their stock. It actually will take place. And sometimes that provides a little momentum lift for a stock. And they're one of the leaders in what they do. ServiceNow. I mean, it's one of the biggies. So I'll be watching that as well.
Awesome. So, Preston, talking some money press for a second. We had last week, obviously, we talked about it. We had a nice, strong push higher, one of the strongest on a holiday shortened week, too, but one of the stronger Thanksgiving weeks in decades. But that was following a couple weeks of a drawdown. Now, I know if you've traded the money press, you've definitely experienced this, but sometimes when you have a rough week, we'll sell our puts a little bit more in the money, bring in more premium, give ourselves more income potential if the stock does bounce and recover. So, Preston, I know you set up some of your money press positions last week,
right?
Kind of anticipating that. Oh, we've maybe been a little overstretched to the downside, so let me adjust some of these positions where I've got a little more bullish upside potential. Make these bring in a little more income, but the stock has to move a little bit higher. So now that we've got that move and you played that really well on a few of those positions, Preston, where does your brain go as you're making some of your adjustments on Friday or kind of looking into this week? Does that mindset shift just a little bit after we've covered so much ground 4 or 5 days?
Yeah, it kind of shifts back to normal. The happy sweet spot, and you can read really thick option books. And basically the takeaway, well, they're going to mention all kinds of stuff, but a real important takeaway is that when options are at the money, so that means if the stock's 99 and a half, because it's never going to be perfect at a strike price, but if the stock's 99 and a half, that $100 strike price is going to be mispriced, if you will. It's going to be overpriced. Mm-hmm. It's not a good deal if you're a buyer of options. but it's the best deal if we're sellers of options. So after, like you said, Mike, we got through a week like last week, we were looking for a bounce. We got the bounce. Maybe we bat around here this week. So I'm looking to be selling those at the money options because I guess in language that we maybe can all understand, it's got the biggest bang for the buck.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got the most time value, right? Because every option contract, the price of that option is intrinsic value and extrinsic value, right? So if you've got the right to buy $100 stock at 95, right? The stock's trading at 100, you can buy it at 95. Well, there's $5 of real value there. That's $5 of intrinsic value. Well, what if the option costs $8? Well, 5 of it is the intrinsic value, 3 of it is that extrinsic value. And what we know, the way option pricing works is that at the money option, the option strike price that's nearest the actual stock price has the most extrinsic value. And that's what disappears with time decay.
Right.
That extrinsic value just rapidly melts away when we're dealing with these weekly options. So that's why the majority of the time we are selling those at the money puts when we're trading the money press. It's got the most time value, that the most extrinsic value, and you're coming into these last 6 or 7 calendar days of that option's lifespan, and it's just going to get destroyed as far as the time decay concerned. And when you're a seller of the option, that works in your favor, right? If the buyer of the option, that's working against you, but as a seller of an option, that time decay really works in your favor. So good insight on that, Preston. Bringing in that juicy premium also gives you some downside cushion, right? If the stock were to bounce around and even drop a little bit, you have some cushion under the price where you're building that trade. And that's what we love about the money press. It can generate income if it goes sideways, if it goes up, even if it goes down a little bit, we can still turn a profit by being a put seller. So
no, it's absolutely true. And Mike, and just also to reiterate that you didn't create it and I didn't create it, but for somehow, some way, the world has gotten into a real hurry betting on everything. We know the sports betting's all big and huge, but it's always been growing over on the stock side. And for whatever reason, the world's more interested in where Netflix goes this next week compared to the next 6 months. And how do we know that? Because the volume is crazy for these weekly options. And like I say, we didn't invent that. We've just stepped back and realized that's a circumstance. Yep. Let's embrace reality, embrace circumstances. So we focus on the weekly, not only the at the monies, but also the weekly, because as Prestonomics dictates, where the people go, the money will flow.
Yep. And we've seen that in several different charts, articles, reports of how that weekly option volume has exploded. People, like you said, are just trading these shorter term option contracts, these, shorter till expiration option contracts. So good stuff, Preston. If you got anything else, we can hit on it, but we got a really fun story from Jeff P. that we wanted to share.
Well,
so anything else before we jump into Jeff's story?
Let's hit it.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, and we love sharing these. Hopefully it's motivating to those of you out there. You can see what these real traders and investors just like you are doing with the money press. So Jeff said, I just am now realizing how much I've made the past month. I track all my option income, but don't break out the money press. The money press has brought in over 12,000 net in 4 weeks. It is real work, and I'm not good at it yet, but I see the potential for real income for the life. And that's what we love about this. You learn a skill, it's not going anywhere. You can money press for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, whatever it might be, wherever your finish line might be. This strategy is going to be applicable. We said out of about 10 money presses, Toast and MU have gone very well. The rest have been lots of trial and errors, but still profitable. We love hearing that. It's never going to be smooth right out of the gate for the most part. You're going to have to deal with some, we have people put in an order wrong or get a fill that they didn't mean to, or they flip the buy and the sell side. There's a lot of different things as you're working through the learning curve. So I'm glad Jeff stuck with it. That's a heck of a first month, hitting that 12,000 in profits. So big shout out to Jeff P for sending
Shout
that
out.
in and seeing some results.
Absolutely, Jeff. You know what screamed out to me on that one, Mike, is he said, I see potential for life. And then I just thought backwards on that the weekly options have only been available since 2010.
Right.
So, and then it even took some years for it to kind of spread. It was a little toddler stage for 2 or 3 years. So really about the time we're recording this, Mike, there's only been real opportunity. There's only been a money press possible for, let's say, 12, 13 years, which is a minuscule time in market time. Hell, we're in London and they've been trading for hundreds of years over here, with goods and sailing and trade routes and so forth. In world history, this is just a little blip.
No, good perspective. Good to point that out. So, Preston, I think we covered a lot of ground. Hopefully, we helped everyone just start their week off, helping them cut through some of the noise and fog out there that we can see in the financial markets, the financial news media.
And out the window.
Yeah.
All day. Foggy
Fog here
London
in London for sure.
That's
But
right.
all right, Preston. Well, thanks. We'll sign this one off. Appreciate you. Appreciate your time. And hopefully the folks got some good things out of this one.
This was fun. Thanks, Mike. Thanks all for tuning in.